Hello, I'm Mantastic and Fantastic, and today I'm going to be doing a quick overview of the new Awoken Izanagi and Anima evolutions. So, without further ado, let's hop right into it. So, Awoken Izanagi was released, and he was a bit out of the blue in terms of what changed for him, mostly because he suddenly is now a Heartcross leader. So, his active skill got slightly remade. It now does it now grants a 2 times damage enhance for God and balance types, in addition to 100,000 damage light attack to a single enemy, which can be reduced by defense, as well as reducing your current player health by 50%. So it's a lot of things happening at the same time, but the interesting thing is, with the 50% health reduction, it actually decreased the overall cooldown because it's considered like a nerf to yourself. Let's put it that way. And this is great for many reasons because he becomes a better assistant for skill inheritance because you can quickly transfer it and use the burst. Because if you're bursting, you're probably killing the floor anyways. Or if you're using him as like a sub or leader and you want to inherit something on top of him, it charges faster. The health reset is actually really nice for, say, Dark Metatron teams who want to be below 50. So this way you don't have to use Durga and just completely chunk your health down to 1. Now you can actually have some health left over. Now, the real interesting component is the leader skill change. Now, his leader skill, it becomes... I've missed an awakening, I just realized. There's supposed to be another light orb awakening there. I'll change that after. But his leader skill now is 7 times damage and 50% damage reduction when you form a Heartcross. The 50% reduction is in a very future update, but I'm listing as that because it will come soon. So he is similar to Miru in terms of actual damage and shielding levels. In addition, he also provides 2 times recovery for God and balance types. So dual Izanagi leads with that buff will form a 49 times attack, 4 times recovery, 75% damage reduction team. Quite powerful. On paper, it's really powerful. However, his main drawback is that he's going to be compared to Miru, just because it's a light Heartcross leader, so you are going to have to compare them. And the main drawback of him is that he is vulnerable to binds. And being vulnerable to binds is very dangerous in today's meta, because you won't be able to form your Heartcross. You have to dedicate a sub slot or active slot to bind clearing, and that will hinder you in the long term. Furthermore, his active doesn't actually generate light or hard orbs, so you have to obviously populate your team with light hard orb generators. So being forced to bring a bind clear can hinder your progress. In addition to the lack of bind immunity, he also lacks time extend. Now, on paper this doesn't matter, but in reality, time extends make a big difference because Miru grants 4 additional seconds of dual leaders. Dual Izanagi is only 1 second. And for anyone who's played Heartcross leaders, or at least watched, there's a lot of manipulation involved because you're usually making rows for burst damage. Izanagi might be able to go for TPAs because he does have dual TPA, but you have to do a lot of orb acrobatics and manipulations to get them into place. And that extra time makes a big difference. So this is why I feel that dual Izanagi is not going to be that powerful because of those drawbacks. You're vulnerable to binds, no time extend. And in addition, having 2 burst nukes is redundant. You're rarely going to need 2. Whereas Miru, because they're both going to be used as basis for skill inheritance, but if you're going to be times where you can't use the inherited skill, and you don't want to have a burst active, you'd rather have the heart generation from Miru, most cases. And this is why I strongly suggest that you pair your Izanagi with a Miru. When you pair them together, it's a lot stronger than dual Izanagi. So Miru Izanagi will give you at least 2.5 seconds of additional time, manageable. You have a burst built in, and you have the hearts as well. And you can obviously inherit stuff on top of it. The 2 times recovery at that point will be significant because you do have some gods, and this is important because when you're playing very high level content, you may not be able to always make a Heartcross every single turn. You might have to take a regular hit and heal, and this additional healing will make a huge difference when you're playing. So that is a big deal in my opinion. And in addition, you save a sub slot for bursting. You don't have to waste a sub for burst active. You can use Izanagi in that place. That means you can have more orb changers, so on and so forth. And what you can do for shorter dungeons especially is You inherit an orb changer on top of Izanagi, use that orb changer at the beginning of the dungeon, and as you progress through, because your leaders, if you're playing co-op, charge twice as fast, you will have his burst active ready by the boss. So then you use your other orb changers, and then Izanagi's burst win. It's a really good option in my opinion. You just don't want to take him into dungeons where there's binds, because when there's binds, you have to try and circumnavigate them, and that's where things can become trickier. So this is why I feel that Izanagi is stronger paired with Miru, not dual Izanagi. So he is strong, but he will be seen as quote-unquote inferior if you're comparing dual Izanagi versus dual Miru. Dual Miru is usually going to be a stronger option in a lot of cases because of the bind immunity and the hearts, but it's good to keep in mind that Izanagi is a viable pairing. A lot of people will use him, especially when you need that burst active. It is going to help, especially if you can avoid binds. Now, Izanagi has a lot of benefits over Miru. Like, my article may sound negative, mainly because dual Izanagi leads are not weak, they're not strong compared to dual Miru. But Izanagi, the other benefit to Izanagi is that he's easy to make by comparison. Miru requires a whole host of skill ups, 15 actually, whereas Izanagi requires 4. And also a very complicated evolution tree. So most players, especially newer players, can't form a Miru. They can't beat her dungeon reliably, let alone get all the skill ups and evolution materials. So Izanagi's going to be a great alternative for people. And you can always pair up with people who have Miru. Like, I might use an Izanagi sometimes with my own Mirus. Maybe. I haven't decided yet. I've only just made him recently. Like, I actually made the commitment. I did it. And I actually inherited Loki onto him. So it's possibly I'm going to use Izanagi as a sub for various dungeons where I need the burst. And Loki's active is a lot stronger. I don't know if I'll lead with Izanagi necessarily, because I'm scared of the binding, because hard dungeons will have those binds. But as a sub, he's very strong now. But regardless, back to the article. And the fact that he's easy to form is going to be a huge boon to newer players, because an Izanagi plus Miru can probably clear a lot of content. You're probably going to clear lots of things with that. And it's a lot easier to form. You just have to match faster, because you do have 1.5 less seconds of movement time. So, as I stated before, I just want to say that dual Izanagi is not as strong. Miru Izanagi is going to be what you want to do. And for players who are curious of how to build your Izanagi team, you should just read my Miru article. It's the exact same team building strategies. You use the same ideas for inheritance as well. You can always upgrade Izanagi's active with someone like Loki or Thor, so on and so forth. Next up is Anima. Now, Anima is a 5-star non-Pantheon role from just the raring machine, and he's been largely forgotten. A lot of people probably have sold him for monster points because he was kind of useless. Like, you do have a modest, like a small damage nuke that doesn't pierce through defense, so it doesn't do anything. Does a minor amount of healing, and you get 2 times attack for Dragon and Devils for 1 turn at 13 turn cooldown. So not very good value. Like, that's not very good value for an active. However, with this new evolution, they become a powerful leader for mindless co-op farming. They grant 1.35 times health and attack for Dragon and Devil types, and 2.5 times attack when played in co-op. So this means you have a 1.8 times health, 56.25 times attack team in co-op. No health restrictions, no active claws, as long as you bring Dragon Devils. Pretty miraculous in my opinion. You don't, like, it's going to be very easy to use. You can match 3 red, kill a floor, 3 red, kill a floor. So a lot of people have had experience with Awoken Cow by this point, and it is very powerful, but the active skill clause can be frustrating and quote-unquote will slow you down because you need to go through the active animation to actually kill a floor. Whereas Anima can match a 3 red and sweep a floor. Where you will use this is up to you. You can't do very hard dungeons because he's not bind immune, but it's just something to keep in mind. You can do dungeons with large preemptives because you have this augmented health pool, but it's just something worth to keep in mind that you may have another easy co-op farming leader. It's not a button team, but it does good damage. You can sweep floors, so don't sell him is basically what I'm trying to say. Just keep him, evolve him, find a friend, farm some descends. Should be relatively easy. May even work well in Rogue descents. I'm not sure. Don't even have one actually. It's supposed to be common, don't have them. But just keep him easy co-op farming leader. Simple as that. So, in conclusion, there's 2 new evolutions that you might have lying around your box from cards that you may have forgotten. Izanagi and Anima, up to this point, were not that viable. These evolutions bring viability to them. So, evolve them, play with them, let me know how you think of it. Let me know if you find Izanagi a strong leader. Do you like pairing him with Miru, or do you really like the dual Izanagi? Or do you just prefer using Miru as a leader? So let me know what you think in the comments below. Have a mantastic day, and happy puzzling!